This is Kinyofu, and I'm holding before you. Well, what do you think this is? Look at it. See? Here's a hint. It's in women. Okay, this is a uterus, and the uterus is attached to the fallopian tubes, which is attached to the ovaries. Why am I holding this in front of you? Because I'm going to have a discussion with you about our menses. So I just wanted to do some anatomy things first. Menstruation is the periodic discharge of blood and tissue from the uterus through the cervix. This is the bottom of the uterus, it's called the cervix. The blood leaves the cervix and comes through our vagina and out of our body. This happens in women from, well, girls. The girls transition to womanhood around 9 years old, sometimes 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, or 15, or 16, like me. Yes, that's kind of late. And women continue to bleed on a monthly basis for about 5 days every month up until their average 55. Sometimes sooner than that, sometimes later than that. Every woman is different. Some women bleed 5 days, some women bleed less, some women bleed more. Okay? So it's important for you to know your cycle because then you will know your body. Here is the uterus. As I explained before, this is your uterus is made of muscle, not foil like this is. I'm so proud I made this uterus. It's um it's made of muscle and uh, this is the top is called the fundus, the bottom is called the uterus. I'm sorry, bottom is called the cervix. Then the vagina is the tube or the passageway that connects the cervix to the outside, the vaginal opening, and the vaginal opening sits or is a part of the vulva. And the vulva is that whole area between your legs. Okay, what else we need to know? The fallopian tubes connects the ovary to the uterus. And ovary is where the eggs are made. The eggs are really called ovum. Okay, so that's woman's reproductive system right here. This is what happens. The average woman's, well, actually, before I go there, I do want to say something about the uterus. The uterus contracts. It contracts during our menses. It contracts during ovulation. It contracts during labor, and it contracts during orgasm. Okay, so mostly we hear about our uterus contracting for labor, but it's always contracting. And why it contracts is because it is a muscle that the muscles tighten. Okay, and that's what the contractions are. Now, the muscles in the uterus are involuntary, like our heart and like our stomach. What that means is that we're not, say the muscle of my arm, I'm squeezing it right now, so I'm making it get hard. Okay, I can't make my uterus get hard, and I can't make the my stomach get hard, and I can't make my heart get hard, but it does that on its own. Those three organs do they get there, the muscles contract on its own. That's involuntary, and your body totally has that under control. Okay, the uterus is fascinating because it's about this size. Let's say this is the size of a pear. I can also say it's the size of a light bulb. So here's a light bulb, okay? And this will give you some idea about what that is. Now I'm going to try to show you where it sits in your body. Okay, so I'm going to stand up, and I don't know if you can see, but it would be looking something like this. So here's my belly button, okay? And there's my pelvic bone is right here, and the uterus is right up in there. And our uterus tilts, okay? It cycles throughout the month like this, gradually. And some of our uteruses are tilt more backward than others, okay? And that doesn't necessarily mean that's a problem. All right. The other fascinating thing about the uterus is that it nurtures the baby. So if we were to be pregnant, this uterus becomes the baby's incubator. Now we're going to talk about menstruation. The average woman's cycle is 28 days. Sometimes, for some women, the cycle will be less or it'll be more. Some women, their cycles are dependable. So it's every 28 days or every 29 days or every 32 days. Some women, their cycles are unpredictable. So maybe it's 28 days this month, maybe it's 32 days the next month, and it goes back and forth. How do you know what your cycle is? Well, you keep track of it. You get yourself a calendar, okay? If you want to use a paper calendar, just get your regular paper calendar. If your cycle began on the first day of the month, you'd mark it off on your calendar. And you could start by saying, what you can maybe mark with a little red marker. My period started this day, put a dot. My period was here on this day, put a dot, and a dot, and a dot, and a dot. So 5 days. Let's say my period was here for 5 days. I would make 5 dots ending on the fifth day, because the sixth day there was my period was it was gone. Okay, and I go through the month and nothing, no period, no blood. Well, on the 28th day, let's say, no blood, but on the 29th day there was blood, which means that my period actually, if I'm counting from the day 1 to day 29, there's 28 days in between, and that means my cycle is on a 28-day cycle. So if my day were on a 32-day cycle, then it would be 31 days in between. And if I do that every month, then I'll be able to see a pattern. You don't have to do it on the calendar. You can get yourself an app on your phone and just say period started today, period ended today, and the phone will do everything else for you. Okay, so when you bleed, you're actually bleeding at the end of the time frame that you're bleeding, whether it's 5 days, 3 days, 6 days. Okay, you're at the end of the day, at the end of that time frame, you basically have released about an ounce of blood or 2 tablespoons on average. Okay, it might feel like it's more than that. So now, if you were to look at the days, all right, I just want to break down what happens during the 28 days. Day 1, we'll say that's the day that you start bleeding. Why are you bleeding? Well, you're bleeding because your body has recognized that there's not going to be a baby. And the egg, the ovum, breaks down, liquefies, and turns and takes tissue from the inside of the uterus out. It just releases it out of your body. Now, the tissue has been building up for the last couple of weeks in preparation for the baby. There's no baby, so the tissue is not needed, so the body releases it, and it releases it as blood. And it takes a couple of days for that blood to leave our body. Okay, while it's leaving, some of us experience cramps. So remember I said the uterus is made of muscle? So when our muscle contracts, we're experiencing cramps. And some women experience cramps and some women don't. And some women experience very, very painful cramps, and some women experience little bit of pain. It depends on a lot of things. But one of the major things that I've heard is that if you have red meat, if you eat a lot of red meat in your diet, then that's going to increase your cramps. So try to cut down on red meat and see what happens. Okay? You want to try to stay away from fried foods and eat more healthy. So basically eat healthier during that time. If you can even eat healthier for the entire month, that will reflect on how much better you will feel during your cycle. And also it will impact on how you feel in general. Okay, what else can you do to help your cramps if you happen to be experiencing them? You can visualize. All right, visualizing is seeing yourself at peace, seeing yourself in good health, seeing yourself not feeling any pain, just kind of being happy with this experience. You also want to be seeing what exactly is going on in your body as I'm going to be continuing taking you through the next 28 days. You will be developing a visual that will help you in your visualization. And in visualizing, you're also relaxing. So, you're having a period, and it does slow you down. So you gotta, make sure that you have your supplies, your pads, your tampons, or whatever you use. And you have to stop a couple of times to go to the bathroom, to check yourself, to change, maybe wash some things. Okay. And you have to maybe think twice about, well, should I go out tonight, or um, should I do whatever it is that you're used to doing? Maybe you're not feeling like doing it. Your body's saying to you, okay, no, this is not the time. And your emotions might not be in a space to want to do anything anyway. So it's the time to check yourself, to slow down, and to take care of yourself. So it's a nurturing time. It's a time of reflection. It's a time of self love. So let's look at it that way, and it also helps you to feel better about your this moment that these moments that you're experiencing, and perhaps that'll help you to not feel so bad about the experience, and which will turn around into the to more cramps that you're feeling. Okay, of course you can stretch. Stretching is great, and so dancing is wonderful. No problem with dancing. Like put that music on and just kind of do the boogie. All right, that definitely is helpful. And be happy. All right. Try to stay away from arguments. Try not to be around people who don't make you happy. All right. This is about loving yourself. Okay, so now we've been bleeding for 5 days. We're at day 5, day 6, and our menses have stopped. So what's happening? Our inside, we don't know what's happening because we don't need to pay attention to our uterus. It's chill. But this things that's happening on the inside that's leading up to what's going to happen um, later on when we start bleeding again. So our uterus is beginning to build up the lining again. And when I say lining, I want to bring your attention back to the uterus. On the inside of the uterus, okay, there's a hole at the bottom of the cervix, and the uterus is hollow, it's empty inside. The lining begins to build on the inside again in preparation for the baby. So little bit by little bit by little bit, it's it's building. And about day 14, if we have a 28-day cycle, about day 14, we're going to ovulate. Ovulate is now the egg leaving the ovary, and then it's going to take its travel down through the fallopian tubes into the uterus. This process will take a couple of days. And as it's traveling, it's looking for the sperm. If it finds a sperm, then it's going to join together with the sperm, find its way into the inside of the uterus, find a nice spot in that lining that's been created, and implant itself for nesting, for the building of this human life that's being made. When a woman ovulates, she might feel something in her ovaries that's called Mittelsmurch, and it'll feel like a pinch. It might feel like a sting. You might notice it for a couple of seconds, and then it's gone. You might feel it again, and then it's gone. And it could feel it. You could feel it on one side, or you could feel it on the other side. You really don't feel it on both sides at the same time. That's because you only, um, oops, my fallopian tubes fell apart. That's because you only ovulate from one ovary at a time. Okay, so these middle smirts might be painful. They might be noticeable. You might not notice them at all. But this is what happens when you ovulate. Okay, your now if there's a sperm, then and it plants with the egg, there's going to be a baby. If there's a baby, the uterus is going to continue to grow along with the baby and provide this nurturing space for it for almost 10 months. If there isn't a baby, it's just the egg is useless. The lining of the uterus is useless, um, in the sense that it's not forming a function. And it both of them break down, liquefy, and then come out as blood. And here we are at day 28 with our menses again. And that's the entire month. So I wanted to share this video with you because I want you as a woman to understand how wonderful it is to be a woman, because there's so much happening inside of your body, particularly your womb. And the womb is what separates us from man, and that's why we're called women. We're co-creators. And when we're not creating a baby, we are creating many other things. And that is why I feel it's important to get in touch with your uterus, to get in touch with your womb, which are one and the same, okay? And love yourself for what you can do. That's Kinyofu on your menses. See you later.